So that is the whole process. You desire it. Then you figure out the obstacles, you count the cost, you figure out the resources. Then you make sure you get an accountability circle.
If you found value in this video, like, share, or subscribe.
In your life, the greatest power is taking responsibility for small change.
Okay, folks, welcome to another episode of My Gut Loss. I've got a special treat for you today. My guest, a very old friend of mine, Lisa Dublin. She's got her master's in business administration, and basically she runs her own vlog, helping people with all sorts of things, from achieving their goals to parenting. Lisa, welcome to the show. Thank you for giving us some of your time.
Oh, thank you so much for having me to connect, my brother.
All right. In your talks, you break down goal setting into various parts. How can people who want to lose weight use these parts?
Okay, so the caveat and the disclaimer is that I am not a dietitian or nutritionist yet. I'm actually getting certified to be a health and life coach presently, so I'm so looking forward to that. But in terms of, can you repeat the question for me? I just lost my train of thought.
Yes, you talk about goal setting having various parts to it.
Okay.
What are these parts that you break down goal setting into?
Sure.
And
Okay.
how can someone who wants to lose weight use these various parts that you break down goal setting into?
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that refresh. I just so wanted to say that disclaimer that it flew out my mind. Okay, so we discussed desire. That is the first step. That is the first step towards wanting it. And then you need to figure out, what are the obstacles in the way? For me, the obstacles were time. And the obstacles were not having a clear plan as to how to go about losing weight and so on. So then you need to look at basically, what are my obstacles? And then once you figured out the obstacles, you do a few things. Either I diminish them, or I eradicate the obstacles, or I get around them, or I increase the likelihood in some way that they will not matter. All of these things kind of mean the same thing. But what it is in that moment is that you're counting the cost. You're saying to yourself, if I need to accomplish this goal of losing weight, what I realized is I needed to meal prep. I needed to devote regular time to taking care of myself, right? Even though, I have a family, I have a full-time job, I have business, this was a goal. I need to give up certain things so that I can make space for them, right? Then, and I always stress on this one, you're not alone in this. I had a trainer, I had people at my gym who were like, oh my gosh, you're doing so well, let's go. You need accountability. You can't do it alone. Whoever said that we were meant to do those hard things alone? So I always talk about having an accountability circle in terms of, you have desire, you figure out the obstacles, you figure out the resources, what do I need to do, give up, etc. to make this happen. And for me, so then you have accountability. And Travis, the last two things are measurement. I'm not just talking about measuring food. I know we're going to talk about that, right? I'm not talking about just measuring food. I'm talking about measuring progress. It can look like anything from weighing. I know my trainer, he makes all his clients weigh on a Sunday to see what the progress is. If you don't measure, you can't monitor. And if you don't monitor, then you can't change things and adjust things to suit you and to suit where you are in this life station. I did a Basement Chronicles, which is my 3-minute vlog. I did a Basement Chronicles called Adjust for COVID. Because in everything, when you measure and you realize it's not working, you need to then adjust. Adjusting does two things. Adjusting makes your goal more possible because in some way you've tailored it so that for success. And secondly, it takes out the mental stress of having a goal that is not within your reach because of circumstance. So, for example, I think this time next year, in spite of me having lost like 20 something pounds, I was lighter, but that was because I was in the office. My commute, took off the calories. I was walking everywhere and so on. So I'm not as active. So I've kind of like lowered my expectation of what my weight is supposed to be because I've adjusted for COVID. I'm working from home. So that is the whole process. You desire it. Then you figure out the obstacles, you count the cost, you figure out the resources. Then you make sure you get an accountability circle. It could be a good friend. But oftentimes, sometimes our friends are not the ones who are interested in what we're doing. So there are lots of professional groups like online and so on where you can enter and you be an accountability partner and you get one, right? Measurement as well of the goal and where you are is also important. And lastly, adjustment for your circumstance to make the goal better and to release your mental stress and, a mental duress. So
Wow.
that, yeah, I know it's a lot, but I teach it and, people are crushing their goals.
I mean, it definitely does take into consideration most of the aspects, if not all the aspects of what you find when you trying to make significant change in your life. You first need to. What was the first one you said?
You need to desire it.
So desire. That is perfect because if you don't want the change, you're never gonna make it. So you need to start there. And what's the second one?
The second one is figuring out the obstacles to your path. Like what is preventing you? Why is it you don't have this goal right now? What are the current obstacles and the potential pitfalls or obstacles to accomplishing this goal? So that goal then becomes not just a desire, it's grounded in reality.
Mhm.
I can't go and say like, I want to learn to fly by next week. I want to learn to fly a plane. Like, how is that going to be possible with my current reality? Can I even do this in a week or whatever?
So it's the beginning of a planning process, isn't it? Because
it is.
you're thinking of what do I need to overcome in order for me to get to where I want to be.
Yeah, it is. It's actually pre-planning. And because for me, like I look back at my own journey. Like Travis, I cannot tell you the number of people I looked at over the years, and that's where the desire started. And I'd be like, wow, how are they able to sustain weight loss? I looked at Jennifer Hudson, for example, and I was looking at her. She was singing during the All-Star game yesterday or whatever. It was a replay, sorry. And I was like, hey, there was a time when I used to look at this girl because she is one of the spokespersons for Weight Watchers. And I used to look at her and I read her story and saw how she went from being, overweight to being in such great shape. And what struck me about that then, and I see it now repeated in my life because of desire or something that somebody else had, was that she was able to maintain that weight loss and she changed her eating patterns. I remember learning about that, reading about it. Guess what? In today, because I was like, wow, I want this for me. It's a state of life that I want. I now can say that I've changed my eating patterns. Now, I wanted to go back to desire, right? Because it's not a pie in the sky. There's a way that you desire and it's sustained. And it is when you answer the question, what's in it for me?
Thanks for watching this video. If you've got any questions that you'd like our experts to answer, please leave them in the comments below.